Are you tired of watching shows that only give you general social media theory and expect you to figure out how to apply it to your own industry? Join us for this week's episode of Social Chatter, the industry's longest-running social media marketing news talk show. Not only will you learn the latest breaking news, but you'll also gain practical advice on how to apply it. Now here's your host, Christian Karasevich.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to Social Chatter, your weekly social media marketing news talk show. I'm Christian Karasevich, and we've got a lot of great topics to talk with you about this week in the land of social media. Social media is always changing. There's always something new, always something exciting going on. This week's topic, I don't know, Sarah, I don't know if this is going to be like super exciting for everyone, but a lot of people really want the feature we're going to talk about this week. That's that LinkedIn dark mode. But I'm going to go and bring on Sarah. We're going to have her tell you a little bit about our guest. So Sarah, it's great having you back for Social Chatter. How you doing?
Hey, I'm great. And yes, I think social media news, to this week's social media news, though, I have to say there is a clickbait piece to it to get people into it, but there's a much deeper announcement coming from LinkedIn. And it just so happens this week that we have one of my favorite people who is also a LinkedIn expert, Paine from Standing Out Online. And she is an international consultant. She's a national speaker. Well, I should say North American speaker, I think, and soon to be international speaker as well, and has a fantastic business of helping people develop their personal brand and stand out in the digital space. And she's another fellow Vermonter. So it's great being a co-host where I can bring in my friends who have expertise in social media. So welcome, Kate.
Hey, everybody. Hey, Sarah and Kristen.
Great to see you, by the way.
Great to see you, and thank you for having me.
Yeah.
So did Sarah give everyone enough insight about you? Is there anything else you wanted to add?
I think so. I especially like the soon-to-be international speaker. Canada is, I've spoken in Canada, so I guess that makes me somewhat international, but I think North American's better.
Right.
And here's the thing. You got to remember, I mean, everyone who's watching, I mean, just because you're in one location doesn't mean that you can't be speaking in these other locations. You know, the great thing about it is the strategy it's very similar. You may not get all the features, for example, that North America has over in Europe or vice versa. However, it's global. So you can apply that to whoever you're working with, whatever type of business you're working with, whatever type of people you're working with, because everybody has, you know, a different way that they conduct business. But again, the fundamentals are all the same.
It's so true. I actually, you know what, Sarah? I think I am international. I did a virtual talk for a company in Singapore for their Asia Pacific region. There were 400 people on the training, and they were from like Malaysia, Singapore, India, Cambodia. So I think that makes me international. Just kidding.
It does make it. Well, your business is in New Zealand too.
Yes, it is.
For those who don't know, Kate works with a lot of businesses in New Zealand. So, so she is an international consultant. So
I can't wait for when I can travel there, actually.
I know.
That's a bucket list trip.
Right. Hey, Christian, before we get into the top topic, we wanted to do a quick update about our key topic last week, which was Ray-Ban stories, also known as Facebook smart glasses, because Christian won the pricing pool and Christian guessed that the Ray-Ban stories would be $299, and that's what they ended up being. So
very interesting product. Again, I think I'm going to still stick with my Snapchat spectacles. They're sitting here on a shelf. We'll see when Ray-Ban stories actually start to make an impact. I think they're a great product, but we'll see. So Sarah, where are we going to start this week?
So we're going to start with LinkedIn announcing dark mode. And so before I get my knickers in a twist about how I feel about dark mode in general, because it's everywhere. It's on Facebook, Instagram, WhatsApp, YouTube, Twitter, even Pinterest is testing dark mode, right? But before we get into that, and we're going to demo this, I want to say what LinkedIn is doing about accessibility and inclusion, because dark mode is, I think, one of the features that helps people who have good eyesight have those darker screens, and some people want that break from the white screen so you can go into a dark mode. But from an accessibility standpoint, for people who are visually impaired, dark mode isn't always the best. But part of this whole rollout is different options for text sizing. You're also going to find that, and Christian's going to demo this in just a few minutes, their dark mode is not quite as dark as other dark modes. So they actually have put a little more thought into this the contrast between the text and the background. So it's not quite black. It's actually kind of gray. So the other pieces that LinkedIn is offering with this is that they have a disability answer desk, so that people with disabilities can contact LinkedIn directly for support. They also have something that they're calling a Be My Eyes service to help people who are visually impaired. So this is a big deal with social media. It's not just the dark mode. They are also, I think we all know how great LinkedIn is with live captioning. And they are also adding to their LinkedIn Learning Hub with more tips and resources to help employers work more with people with disabilities, help with hiring, recruiting, onboarding, and ongoing mentorship and support. And they are also bringing that into their LinkedIn coaching platform too, to support people with disabilities who are looking for a job. So now let's get to the clickbait. The dark mode. I have a lot of strong opinions about dark mode. I know Christian does too. Let's bring everybody in to talk about dark mode and how you feel about it.
I gotta say, I like the idea of dark mode. I guess maybe I don't use it enough to see like what kind of differences it really makes, like on the eyesight, because that is a key thing. I mean, for example, if you've got blue light glasses, Kate, it looks like you've got blue light glasses on, I think, or at least blue light lenses.
Yep, I do.
I've got blue light lenses here as well. If I'm using these, I mean, I don't think I need the dark mode at that point. Because I mean, it is kind of designed to help filter out some of that blue light that does make you tired, I guess. Mm-hmm. So I like the idea of it. I don't know. What do you think, Kate? You're a dark mode fan?
I've never been a huge dark mode fan. I use it really in a pragmatic standpoint, and that might make everybody laugh. So if I decide to, when I get in bed at night with my husband and I'm looking at my phone,
Mm-hmm.
He'll roll over and he'll go, "Oh God, it's so bright," and I'm like, "Ooh, dark mode." So I use it in that standpoint. But more seriously, to Sarah's point earlier, I actually suffered a minor traumatic brain injury about 4 years ago. And so one of the things that when dark mode came out, and I hadn't gotten these yet, then that was, a couple years ago when it first came out to like iOS. I was using it because it definitely helped with the contrast issues I was having with my vision per my injury. Mm-hmm. So I use it at times when my eyes start to get tired, or if I start to feel like a headache coming on, mm-hmm. I'll use it in that standpoint. But, I'm on my desktop most of the time, just probably like you two. So I can't use it that way. What's interesting though, just a quick thing in case anybody's listening who's ever had a TBI and had issues with your screen, you can get like a piece of yellow. It's like a report. Remember report covers when we used to have them? They were like cellophane, kind of mm-hmm. hard, and they came in colors. If you get the yellow one, and you can get them like at Staples or something, it'll cling to your screen. And it actually helps with the contrast and stuff like that. So if you don't have dark mode, if you're not using it on your phone, mm-hmm. that's a helpful tip to help with contrast on your desktop.
That is a very good tip.
And I think it's important to note, dark mode doesn't mean no blue light.
Correct.
Right. I think a lot of people are thinking, okay, I can use dark mode. I can use my phone at night. No, it's not what it means. It's not filtering out any of the blue light. It's not going to help you sleep better. Those yellow screens actually changing the tint to more yellow and orange. Like if you go into night mode in iOS, that actually is less blue light, and that will actually help you. Right. But for dark screens and stuff, I know when I worked in an agency, one of the other marketing people, he always liked to go into dark mode because all the had their screens in dark mode, and he wanted to seem like he was the same, right? And I have a lot of expletives about dark mode. but I really, I think it's a trick. Some people like it, some people don't. I think what's more important about this announcement from LinkedIn and these features that are part of the dark mode set is that they're really taking a step toward more accessibility when it comes to social media and just the digital space in general. So, Christian, I think you're going to show how to actually flip between light and dark mode on your profile.
Yeah, let me go ahead and show this to everyone. So basically what I'm going to do real quick is I'm going to switch over here to the screen here. And so what you've got here, so we've got dark mode. And basically the way that I access this, so for example, here I am, I'm on my LinkedIn account. So by the way, this works on desktop. It also works on mobile as well. The only thing you have to do to get this is just update your app. Again, they may not make you do it, but I always try to keep my app updated. But basically what we're going to do is we're going to go up here to our profile here at the top. We're going to go down to settings and privacy. And then this is where I will say it does get a little tricky. So it does say, it says visibility, right? And you would think, oh, well, I'm going to go to visibility and make some adjustments. However, what we need to do, I need to go to account preferences. And then there's this display option here. And what you're going to see dark mode here in the middle. And so all we're going to do simply is just click change. And now we actually have some options here. So we have, let me see if I can zoom in a little bit on this for you all. So we have device settings. We've got dark mode. We've got light mode. So for example, if I do device settings, that's going to use the mode that's already selected on your device's settings. So for example, if you're on an iPad, for example, you've got the ability to set dark mode there. It will actually use that setting. Or you can manually go in and make this adjustment. So for example, I can make that adjustment to dark mode there, or I can switch it back to light mode. Personally, I think, Sarah, I'm going to leave it on device settings. And that's only because the benefit here is so that, as I'm like wanting to make these adjustments, I really shouldn't have to, I almost want to say it's sort of like automation. Like I want to make sure that these things happen. They're little minor things that I really shouldn't have to think about. So I would personally set it to device settings, and then on my device, set up my dark mode, or set up like when I want, the device to actually do the switching for me. So, so that is dark mode for LinkedIn. I was almost going to say dark mode for iOS there, but it's dark mode for LinkedIn. By the way, I want to bring up a great comment from our viewer, NLTMW here, by the way, too. So, so he has a great comment here, and he says, when we talk about dark mode, it's partly that whole blue light thing. You mentioned like putting like yellow cellophane, for example, like a report cover over the screen to help improve the contrast. He says that he uses it. He wears glasses, has vision issues in one eye. On camera, he appreciates the dark mode to reduce the reflection in his glasses.
Oh, that's an interesting idea.
That's an interesting point. Yeah.
And I think it's important to remember as well that if you are from a design perspective, if you think dark mode is the way things are going to be going, don't, because dark mode is good for people who have good vision, right? People who don't have good vision, and NLTMW has said that he has some vision issues in one of his eyes, and that dark mode helps in certain circumstances. But in general, I talked to some of my friends who work in the adaptive sports arena, and they said they stay away from, light text on dark backgrounds doesn't always work. And even though you can put all these great fancy colors on top of other colors, right? You do want to make sure that you are having enough contrast in those colors, especially on web design, that you're meeting all of the different guidelines and rules for having an accessible website.
I got to say, one other thing I want to add real quick just about dark mode is that you still need to make sure you take regular breaks. So this is the thing. We're on our computer all the time. And we're on our computer. I was actually thinking about this the other night. I'm on my computer pretty much the whole day, into most of the evening. And then when I finish and then let's just say I get up like to take a break. I actually am not taking a break most of the time, because guess what? I'm picking up this. I'm picking up my phone, or I'm picking up my tablet. Maybe I take say you're going to go for a walk. You're going to go extra. Like if you're going to actually physically exercise, I'm not necessarily using a screen, but let's say you're going to go for a walk or something like that. chances are you're not just actually out enjoying nature, things like that. You're probably walking in, hey, I'm checking my phone, for example, or things like that. So you do want to make sure you build in those breaks. Again, also build in those breaks in the evening. So anything else you want to add to this? I mean, is there any tips maybe, Kate, like, what do do you have any, maybe any advice in terms of like LinkedIn, in terms of like dark mode, things like you might like to see added for dark mode?
This is not something. This dark mode is just a feature I don't use that much across the board. So I'm not sure what else I'd like to see. I actually was just excited that I just learned from you that you can do this on desktop. I didn't think you could. So I just learned something. And thank you for that, Christian. So I don't really have anything else to add. I think that it's an option that people want to have more. I know sometimes if I am like reading in bed, so to speak, which I know I shouldn't do, but there are certain apps I'm like, God, I wish they had dark mode because it's just so bright. Yeah. So I don't have much else to add.
Right.
No worries.
You can add, what Christian was saying, that device setting, you can add night mode to your iOS.
Yeah.
So
and laptops
and laptops.
Well, I do have it on my. I do have it on my phone for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, you've got tablets, phones. Pretty much every device has night mode. Actually, by the way, I just enabled night mode, so let's just see what happens here. Whoops, sorry about that.
Oh, you're gone. Poof. No.
I know, right? I gotta say, I still want to go back to NLTMW's comment. I think that's a great tip, by the way, about if you're somebody who wears glasses and you're getting a lot of the reflection on the screen from the screen. Like, again, it's not like, oh, it's sharing like proprietary information. It's the fact that, it can be distracting as well. So if somebody's trying to pay attention to you, and they're seeing, the reflection, for example, from your screen, that can throw them off as well. So I like just that tip that, you could also use it for that. So,
well, I only use these for when I'm on my computer. Otherwise, I don't normally wear glasses. So
yeah,
but I need it. I need it to read, and I need it just for the issue I have.
And I am a contact lens wearer, but when I wear my glasses, I have the anti-reflective coating on my glasses. And I think Doreen Morin Van Dam talked about this too. She has special glasses for when she's live streaming as well.
Yep. And I think Jen does too, Jen Herman.
Yeah.
So they're basically, so when you say special glasses, are they basically like just the blue light coating on it, or is there something?
Well, mine are prescription because I need them for the reading aspect, and then I had them add all the extras onto the
yeah, it's a coating that you can add on. It's an anti-reflective coating, and it actually is helpful if you have overhead lighting. It actually cuts down on the glare that you'll get, the bounce back glare that you'll get on your glasses.
But you can go to the drugstore just to get blue light reading glasses. So
yeah. And I would recommend everybody should invest in that. I mean, even because the great thing about those, they don't have prescriptions.
Right.
They don't have to have prescriptions in them. So think of it like this. You're putting on a pair of sunglasses, except they're just a regular clear lens with some blue light coating on it. There's no prescription correction there. They're basically designed to help filter out some of that light. So taking some of those necessary steps, I think, are super important. By the way, before we move on, one last comment from NLTMW says, the problem with dark mode is finding a balance of contrast and colors in the interfaces. They tend to make text either too dark or bright white, increasing eye strain again. So more control would help.
So it sounds like the LinkedIn announcement is that you can change the text size too. There are other alterations that you can make with their whole accessibility slew of features. So I think from what I see of this, they have put more thought into dark mode than other platforms have that just sort of flip white to black. So, and actually, if you notice when Christian did it, it's not actually black, it's gray. So I think you'll see a difference with LinkedIn.
One last thing, while we always talk about how social media platforms are kind of copying one another, and we're like, you know what? Hey, everybody's coming into TikTok style videos and things like that. I think this is a feature that every platform should be copying. That they should be adding that dark mode, for example, giving people the ability to make some of those adjustments.
I agree with that for sure. Yeah. I mean, if you're going to have it across the board.
Yeah. So.
They pretty much do. Pretty much everybody does. And the question is, how much of this fine tuning can you do and how much more of that will roll out?
Yeah. Awesome.
So,
Okay,
yeah,
Sarah,
great.
where do we go from here, by the way?
Well, I'm going to throw a little wrench in the works, because what I want to do is actually combine the second topic with the third topic and the first topic, right?
Sure.
Because we had saved some news from LinkedIn for Kate coming on this show.
Yeah.
And all summer, really I should say all year, LinkedIn has been rolling out new features and a lot of new resources for small and medium-sized businesses. They've really recognized that SMBs, as we call them, small, medium-sized businesses, which are 1 to 200 employees as defined by LinkedIn, they have rolled out a lot of things with Learning Hub. They have been rolling out a lot of pieces with LinkedIn Learning and with coaching to really help small and medium-sized businesses with their growth and actually get through the pandemic, because pretty much across the board since February 22, SMBs have really struggled. So it's nice to see that LinkedIn is rolling out more features, giving more resources. And in this third piece of news, there's the link. I think we've talked about in other episodes too, especially episode 289 about their marketing labs. And we'll link all of that in the comments for this video as well. But they're really putting a lot of thought into this. And so the new thing that's coming out with the thoughtful LinkedIn is that they are ending LinkedIn stories and really reevaluating how video is coming up on their platform. And so this is the quote from LinkedIn, is that we are going to reimagine the video experience. We want to embrace mixed media and creative tools and stories in a consistent way across our platform, while working to integrate it more tightly with your professional identity. So how's that for a PR statement, right? So I think we've all been frustrated with other platforms. Other platforms have expressed their frustration with the fact that they have video in too many places and there's too many bells and whistles and too many things to figure out. LinkedIn has said, okay, we've tried stories for a year. Hasn't really worked out. We're learning our lessons and we're going to move forward and figure out how we're going to make this work. And if we all remember back to this summer, in July, they acquired Jump Rope. So I think it's going to be really interesting to see how LinkedIn takes these next steps forward, knowing that people like these short form videos, and acquiring this tool called Jump Rope and their LinkedIn Live. So I'm going to open it back up to our LinkedIn expert, Kate, who has been on LinkedIn Live forever, since they started it, maybe?
Year and a half.
A year and a half, right. So what do you feel about this announcement that they want to reimagine the video experience?
I say amen. I never cared. I'm not a stories person anyway. It's not my, just even on whether it's Facebook or Instagram, I'm just never used stories. That's not my thing. That's just me personally. I see the value, especially on Instagram, because they originated there. And I think that that's where they do it best. Facebook is right behind because, they kind of work together. But as far as stories going away, when it came out on LinkedIn, I was actually like really bummed out about that. I'm like, really? This stories to me is just, it's more personal. And I mean, I like that. I always talk about having a little bit of a personal component on your LinkedIn presence, but it's still a professional network. And I'm thinking, now are we just going to see people doing dopey things in their business? And I don't know. It just didn't feel meaningful to me. It felt like, do you want to be a LinkedIn? Do you want to be a professional online network, or do you want to be Instagram? And so the fact that it's going away, I did try it. I hardly got any engagement. I belong to a really great LinkedIn experts group on Facebook. And we have been talking about it nonstop. And so the anecdotal consensus is that we're glad it's going away. LinkedIn has always loved video, even before LinkedIn Live was rolled out. They were, and you can only have, if you upload a video to LinkedIn, it can't be any longer than 10 minutes. So it has to be longer than 3 seconds and no longer than 10 minutes. So people were uploading native video and it does really well. Their algorithm is totally tuned into it. Part of the reason why people started putting captions in their videos is because people were doing it on LinkedIn, because pre-COVID, people would be watching a video in their office and they didn't want their audio on. And so so then it's like LinkedIn's like, and if you put video with captions, we'll show even more of your stuff. So I think that I'm excited to see what they're going to do next with video, because I think that LinkedIn Live has been a game changer. The fact that they added the featured section where a lot of people feature some video in there or a link to a video there, I think that it's going to be pretty neat. And then they got cover story, which is where that 30-second video can play on your profile photo.
Mm-hmm.
And LinkedIn is the first, if you want to call LinkedIn social media, LinkedIn is the first platform ever to create something like that. Vivica von Rosen, who you have had on, and a good friend of mine, she refers to that as the Harry Potter effect. But LinkedIn's never a first in any of this stuff. So I just tells me that LinkedIn has got a huge weight on video, and I'm excited to see what they're going to come up with next.
I gotta say, when we were initially talking about this, so I love the whole LinkedIn creator mode that they've released, the ability to, like, it's that subtle like touch of video. Like, by the way, if you haven't checked that out, by the way, we put that in the comments. It's an amazing feature. It basically lets you put a video in the profile section. And for example, like if we're streaming right now onto LinkedIn and you went to Sarah's account, for example, you would see in the banner as well, you would see the live stream as well that's going on. I love the creative use there. Going back to the whole LinkedIn stories thing going away. I was thinking about this morning as well. People go on LinkedIn, again, they still want to maintain that professionalism, right? And I just don't see stories fitting there, because like if I'm a business professional, I'm small, it doesn't matter. Small business, work for a Fortune 500 company, doesn't really matter. I'm in the business of making money, essentially, is what those businesses are, trying to do. But I'm not doing it in a way that's like you can still have fun and things like that and incorporate that in your business. However, you're not actually like, like it doesn't need to be the Instagrams or the TikToks, the style that's there. And so it's like, well,
sorry,
what was that?
No, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
I said, plus they're hard to find. The stories didn't have like a real prominent location. I mean, unless it was on, obviously on your phone. And if in the beginning it was at the top, then they kind of moved it like to the upper third, so that was like in the way of the screen, so that you could see it. You could tell that they were testing this, but it's not like the other platforms where you could see it and access it. Plus, what they also maybe have realized is that a lot of people who use LinkedIn, like real pro savvy users of LinkedIn, actually may not even do Facebook and Instagram. Right. So because they just don't use those kinds of sort of little fun tools, if you want to call them that. So then they didn't even know what it was. They were like, what's this? And how do I do it? And then I think it created a lot of confusion, user confusion.
Yeah.
Right.
And it comes down to like, what kind of presence you want to maintain on the platform. Do I, for example, do I want to see, like, if I, for example, were working for a Fortune 500 company and I'm attending trade shows and all this like sort of thing for that company, that's great. Right. And I'm writing articles and we've got new products. We always got things coming out. But is my stories content going to be, oh, hey guys, I'm at this event today. Oh, next one, I'm at that event, for example. Like, and like how much of that, like, because that essentially is your identity at that point, is who you work for. Right.
But I think there is a place for the short form video. And back in July, I think Junaid Ahmed had some great comments about it too when we spoke about it. And that there's places for how-tos, for tutorials, for short engaging content in this video or progressive slide kind of format, which is why I think they bought Jump Rope. Especially for people who want to show their expertise in how to do something, that LinkedIn is bringing these creative tools in with Jump Rope, and then they're thinking through how do people want to see it and engage with it. And clearly stories isn't the place for it on LinkedIn.
You guys have talked about dwell time before, right? LinkedIn's dwell time in the algorithm. So, that's another sort of like shout out from LinkedIn saying, put up content that people want to stay and look at longer, because we reward long form content. So I think that if they're going to come out with some, sort of cooler video feature, which is going to keep people in that post or in that content, that's another sign of we prefer the longer form current content versus the short form. Does the short form need to be somehow, some way there? Yeah. I mean, you can still do a 1 or 2 minute video,
Right. And these tools make it easier to do that, right?
Yeah.
Things like jump rope make it easier to do that, especially for, as you said, Kate, a lot of people on LinkedIn aren't Facebook users. They're not Instagram users. They're certainly not TikTok users. So they don't know all of these little cool tools and things that you can layer onto these short videos.
Right.
Right. And so LinkedIn is bringing that creative set to their platform so that they could be a little more lively than just a talking head.
Yeah.
I have a feeling, I'm going to make a little prediction here. I have a feeling that, so Christian, I don't mean to sound like I'm correcting you, but you said about the video in the profile photo, you referred to that as creator mode. That's actually cover story.
Yeah.
Because creator mode is the one where you can put the hashtags and you can switch from connect to follow and all that. So I just thought I'd mention that. But why I'm bringing it up is creator mode, from what I've read and what I hear, is still being worked on. Like, one of the things that annoys us about creator mode is you can add up to 5 hashtags, but they're not clickable. So it's like, what's up with that? So I have a feeling those will become clickable, but I have a feeling the video piece is going to get tied into making creator mode more robust.
Yes.
So that's what I think. I think I think they're going to pull it into that, because a lot of people are bailing or shutting off creator mode because they're like, what? I don't know if this is, I'm getting followers, but I'm not getting connections. And, I prefer connections. They're more meaningful to me. And I've got 5 hashtags, but I can't click on them. So why am I doing this? So I think it might roll out with that.
By the way, thanks for the correction on. Yeah, you're
I didn't mean to sound like one of those.
Oh, no. I totally spaced on it. I was like, you know what? Actually, I forgot that was the article where we covered all of those topics at once.
I don't even know why they call it cover story, because frankly, it makes me think of the banner background image. And so then people are like, cover story, is it supposed to happen? I get this all the time. Is it supposed to happen in the banner? Like, nope. I don't know why they call it that, but it's in your profile photo.
Right. Then there's the where does the pronounce your name piece come into? There's that as well.
That can only happen from your mobile device.
Yeah.
And then some people are using the pronounce your name thing to do like a 10-second little, like, here's how you say my name. And oh, by the way, here's what I do. But I'm thinking like, okay, if you've got cover story, then let your cover story be about who you are, what you do, and how you help somebody. And then let your pronunciation be your pronunciation.
Yeah. Very, very good points. I will say, I still, one last point I think I want to make about just the whole, the LinkedIn stories aspect. A lot of business, if people that are on LinkedIn, for example, like, I love the idea that you mentioned about, there's all these tools that you can layer on top of videos. A lot of the people at the same time, they don't care. That's the other thing. They don't care about all the bells and whistles or shiny objects, as we want to call them.
Exactly.
That's
why people use LinkedIn. I mean,
exactly.
my demographic for my client is 45 plus, and I would say most are in the 55 to 65. And they've had it with the other ones. They don't want to use it. They like LinkedIn because it's more professional and doesn't have all the vitriol. And they go there with purpose. Most of the users who use LinkedIn go there with purpose to look at business insights, make connections, have conversations, talk about what they're doing in their business, sharing other people's content who are in their industry, etc. They go there for a meaningful experience.
Yeah. And I got to say, I love the point that both of you made about jump rope. So about LinkedIn buying jump rope. When we think about the grand scheme of things, I would love to see jump rope integrate. Like, I can't wait for that to be integrated into LinkedIn. Like, that they would integrate just that functionality. I think that it makes a lot of sense. And then on the flip side, we talked about this about LinkedIn dark mode. I could see people copying that. I could see every platform, Instagram, for example, TikTok. I could see, I think maybe they already have this, but copying that whole jump rope functionality and making, because again, you have 2 different audiences, but they're essentially going to do the same thing. They're just doing them in a different style. And I could see jump rope, for example, being something then that, like, okay, everybody was copying TikTok or they were copying Snapchat. Now they're copying LinkedIn for something. So I do like that this does spur, I wouldn't say innovation, but,
I think that's exactly what I was just going to say. I think LinkedIn, maybe they got a little surge of confidence. Hey, we created cover story and everybody loves it. And we're the first ones. Let's do something else innovative.
Yeah. Well, it's clearly part of a corporate social responsibility mission that they have. I mean, they're putting money into an organization called Enablein. They are having the service desk that is going to be available for people with disabilities. So they're really pushing that. And let's keep in mind, who's behind LinkedIn is Microsoft.
Yes.
Who really, I have to say 20 years ago, I had a serious injury. I couldn't type. So I had to use this voice activated software that was terrible. And
Not
over
anymore,
the
by the
years,
way. I gotta
not
say.
anymore. They're great. Now everybody has it. Microsoft has it integrated into all of their products, and it makes total sense that their other company assets like LinkedIn is rolling out all of this as well.
Definitely, yeah. So Sarah, where do we go next? Do we have a lightning round? We got questions.
Let's do a quick lightning round so that we can get to questions for Kate. So the first one of the lightning round is Instagram montage. I guarantee you we are going to talk about this when it's out of the testing. Right now, it's just some of the IG app developers are leaking some of the things that they're doing. What this is you're going to be able to use one of your Instagram stories and make it into a reel. Let me repeat that. Your Instagram story can become a reel. And I think this is important. I see some of my clients, they make these beautiful stories and I just sigh at the end of them saying, oh, this is going to disappear in 24 hours. You're going to be able to tell these stories and stitch them together in a much more compact, easier way within the IG app. And I guarantee you, we will talk about this when it actually starts to roll out. Right now, it's still very much in development. The other couple of things that we want to talk about, Twitter is going to start labeling the bots. So these are Twitter accounts that are automated posting. I know a few of them that I follow. They're sort of emergency services kind of thing. If flooding is happening, they basically pull in the tweets from other services so that you get one feed of the important emergency services information. But as you can see in the screenshots from Twitter, that they're going to label those services, what the bot service is auto posting. Twitter Spaces is going to add end cards, which is great. So that this has ended instead of it just sort of disappearing and you get to see who was on the stage. And then Pinterest is testing a vertical screen. So edge to edge, if you remember, we talked about edge to edge on Twitter coming out last week. So Pinterest is testing this as well. And I have to say, I like this. There's a reason why other platforms work really well with edge to edge. I think Instagram was probably one of the first to ever do it. So it's nice to see that Pinterest is doing that. You will have the option for your traditional Pinterest feed, which I find really difficult. My brain just can't work in the regular Pinterest feed. So I'm really excited to see this vertical piece. So all of that will be in the blog. It's also, you can find it at Social Chefs on Twitter. We've tweeted out all of these links. And of course we have them in the comments as well. So we want to get to Kate. And questions for Kate. So Kate has, I mean, how many people now have you coached on LinkedIn and trained on LinkedIn at this point in your career of, is it 10 years of standing out online?
No, I'm actually I'm almost approaching my 8th. I'm almost to my 8th. Yeah.
8th year with standing out online. So we always like to start with the big question when we have people like Kate come on. And so our big question for Kate is, what is the best place for your personal brand to live online? You are a personal branding expert. LinkedIn is a tool, right? But you are really about developing a personal brand. So where should that live online?
Well, your first of all, just your personal brand is essentially your reputation. And your reputation is made up of your integrity, your expertise, your values, and your influence even. So you want to figure out a place, where does that best live online? So first of all, obviously, especially if you are a speaker, author, coach, entrepreneur, it can live on your website. And remember, the only thing you own on the internet is your website.
So I think Kate froze actually. So let's see if we can get her back. We're going to have her come back in, by the way. So I got to say, so the tip she was giving there, we're talking about building your personal brand. Mm-hmm. And it's the fact that, and we say this time and time again, I think, Sarah, and it's the fact that the only thing you own on the internet is your website.
Right.
And
right.
I'm sure Kate's going to add to this. But I mean, I think the question I would have for everyone who's watching, who has a website? And it doesn't have to be an e-commerce, like fully functional e-commerce site. It doesn't have to be all fancy. It could just be a very basic website where you put up replays of something, or you put, a podcast that you publish. It could just be embedded videos. It does not have to be complicated.
Right. And you're not publishing in the New York Times, right? I work with people who say, I don't know what to tweet. I'm afraid to post this, or I'm afraid to write that on my blog. It's like, it can disappear, right? We do say that things live forever. Screenshots live forever, right?
Yeah.
But you shouldn't be afraid of putting yourself out there, of putting out content, of writing things and getting them online, and not letting the paralysis of self-doubt stop you from getting your information online and sharing your story and sharing your expertise, right?
So
and
Kate's back, by the way. I'm going to bring her in. So Kate, sorry about that. I'm not sure.
No, I think I'm plagued by tech gremlins today.
Oh, good.
And it's not Rocco's fault either, my dog. So I'm not sure what's going on. But anyway.
So you're saying you don't own anything that you put online unless it's your website?
Your website. But where your personal brand can really live online is on LinkedIn via your personal profile. So yes, you may want a company page, but I'm talking strictly about your personal profile. Because on your about page of your website, you're not going to have like what you've done in the past. You're not going to have all of the various things that you do in your professional life. For example, like, what do you do for volunteer experience? That's an important component of your profile, because people get a picture of who you are as a whole person versus just who you are as a professional. And people want to make connections with real people, and they want to do business with real people. They don't want to just do business with a logo. So you can have all of these assets on your LinkedIn profile. And one of the things I love about one of the newer features, it's not so new anymore, is the featured section. You can have links to infographics, presentations, videos, pages on your website, your link to your online calendar if you do, schedule a call with me kind of thing. So your personal brand can really live in your LinkedIn profile. And it is the ultimate and only place, frankly, where you can put out all of your credential and your social proof.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Some points.
Right. So what is it about LinkedIn that helps people stand out? You mentioned a little bit about the features section, but what is it that can really help you stand out?
Well, now that LinkedIn's bringing all these little tools in, we've already talked a little bit about cover story, but there's no other place in your social media where you can put up to a 30-second little video in your where your profile photo is, and people can hear who you are, what you do. Don't just do a bio. Viveka talked about this in one of your past shows. Say who you are. Like, hey, I'm Kate Paine, CEO and founder of Standing Out Online, and I work with speakers, authors, and coaches to help them, discover their personal brand. I'd say it more eloquently than this, and so that they can stand out online, and then say how I might help them, right? So give them a takeaway. So that's one tool. The features tool is another one. But also in your about section, so many people ignore the about section, or they write in the third person, or they write like a biography type about section. Your about section is one of the most read sections on your LinkedIn profile. Don't ignore it. And then bring in what I call my 3-part recipe. Who you are, like a nugget of your personal story, like relate it to who you are personally, why you got started in your career, for example, or your work, what you do, like as far as who you help. And then 3, conclude with, and here's how I use one of my specific skill sets to solve your problem. So who you are, what you do, and how you can help. You can really stand out because people go looking for people like you on LinkedIn. And if you can talk about how you help people in your about section, you're going to stand out amongst all of your competition and your peers, where most people either don't know what to put there, they regurgitate their objective statement from their CV or resume, or they just put it one sentence in, or they just don't even bother to put it there. It's 2,600 characters of really great digital real estate, and I want you to use it.
So I have a question just in regards to that. So is there anything that I can do in terms of correcting, for example, on that, for example, like if I'm not using my about section on my LinkedIn account, can I like make some, how like you optimize your website, right? And then you can make it, you can you can optimize your website, and then you'll start to see the page views. You'll start to see certain articles driving more traffic. Is there anything that I can do when I optimize that about section to also be able to see like the impact that is actually having?
No, unfortunately there isn't.
Okay.
And if there is, I'm not aware of it. I mean,
Okay.
there's no way to get ROI of your about section.
Okay.
But here's the thing. When you first arrive on someone's profile page and you
Mhm.
you scroll down and you see their about section, you only see the first 2 lines, and then it
Okay.
says see more. So that's an opportunity. You want people to click see more, so it opens up the whole thing. This is, and you want it to be interesting. You want it to be compelling. This is where you have an opportunity to do something differently than how everybody else does it on LinkedIn. And by
Okay.
incorporating your personal story along with your personal brand, which is the positioning piece, right? It's like, why are you unique and different? And you share that, then you're gonna start to just receive more meaningful connections. Like, that's sort of anecdotal. One of the things I get told is when people update their about section and they include some of the things I've said, they're like, wow, I can't believe it. I'm getting really great invitations to connect. The experience I'm having, things are getting served up to me in a different way. So I can't say like what part of the algorithm did that, but the other piece is use keywords in your narrative. You've got to use those industry keywords, because that also is picked up by the algorithm.
Awesome. I have one other question then off that. So like if I look on my profile, I see, who viewed your profile, post views, search appearances. Does my about section impact those numbers at all, or
Not that I know. It does. I don't know if that does. I mean, that's basically LinkedIn's way of, I think what it's doing more than anything is it is picking up on keywords. One thing that people may not realize is, you have your skills section. You can have up to 50 skills there. And by the way, I'm hearing rumors that they're going to increase it to 100. But the keywords the words that you put into the skills section, LinkedIn's algorithm sees as keywords. So like, don't put in, for example, for skills, don't put in Microsoft Office. First of all, that's a given. You should know how to use that, right? Put in things that are related to what you do in your field, that are related to that are also a skill. I mean, it needs to be real. But remember, the algorithm is seeing that. So part of what I think could be showing up, to answer your question, Christian, is that if your skills section's filled out well, and those are there, then some of those people they're suggesting. So you know how sometimes when you pop into someone's profile, that little thing shows up and says, it's not the endorsement. It's like, does Sarah know how to do? And it gives you 4 things. It's different than the endorsement. And some of them apply and some of them don't. I think that's their way of figuring out how they're going to suggest people you may know based on the skills. So,
excellent point,
make sure you don't ignore that either.
Well, I think that's a good point. When a platform puts out different features or different sections to complete it.
Complete it.
It's like filling out an application. It's like, I have a background in grant writing. You never leave a question blank. Never say not applicable. You say something else about it. So find a way to tell your story in different ways throughout each section.
So to your point, Sarah, there's a licenses and certifications section. A lot of people don't realize that. If you're putting CPA or MBA after your name in the name field, take it out of there, because it messes up search, by the way, and it technically goes against LinkedIn's terms of service. So first, last name. Put your designation of whatever it is, you can add a licenses and certifications section. You can put in where you got the credential and all of that. So that gives you more social proof and, credential, period. But there's also, like, you can add in a volunteer. A lot of people don't do that. So even if you don't do hands-on volunteer work, put in that you're an annual contributor to the Sierra Club or something. Put in something in there, because it's another section you can add, because LinkedIn's giving you all of these sections to include, so that they will serve you up more in results. And the more you take advantage of what they've provided, the tools they've provided, use them. Use them if they make sense. I'm not saying, like, they ask you if you have a patent. If you don't have a patent, don't put a patent in there.
Right.
But add in your accomplishments, add in publications, add in languages that you speak. Don't ignore all those things that you think don't matter, because they're going to help you from the standpoint of having you get served up more and rank well. In the way it works. Right.
Well, this brings in a good question, if I can interrupt, Christian. We did have a question about side hustles. And Kate, it reminded me, I actually had some significant volunteer experience that contributed to what I do now. And I actually, I had that on my LinkedIn profile before there was a volunteer section. I actually just made it an experience, just as if it was a job, because it was 10 to 15 hours a week that I was working in these volunteer positions. So NLTMW asked, what about the side hustle? When something's not related to your day job?
So great question. First of all, there's a couple different things. You have the opportunity in the about section, which is about 500 words, 2,600 characters, to talk about both. Remember, it's your profile. So even if you have your day job, talk about your day job. And if it's related in any way to your side hustle, incorporate it in a sentence or two. Okay. The other thing you can do though, too, is down in your experience section is put in whatever your day job is at the top, but then you can add in a new section like what Sarah was just saying. And LinkedIn has now made it so that you can put down, you don't have to put the company name. You can make it say full-time employee, self-employed, homework or something like that. Not homework. For women who are like out of the job force and they're home taking care of their children, there's a setting even for that. So you can put your side hustle in there and you have the description to take advantage of describing what you do in your side job. And you have like 2,000 characters in that description. So it's about 300 words there. So don't avoid it. I mean, if it's something you're doing and it's legit, the other thing is that may become your new job someday. Maybe you're going to phase out of your day job and go into your new thing. And if you already have that set up, you're sort of like already got like some foundation about what you're going to be doing, if that changes.
And I want to add a tip. I think you and I did this years and years ago, is that we made our titles of past jobs SEO rich, right? It doesn't have to be, it doesn't have to be the official title that you had on your business card or on your employment contract with your employer. You can actually alter that so that it is searchable, so that some people may not be looking. You may have worked at a company where it was a quirky little title, and it doesn't make sense to the algorithm or to any recruiters to find you. So you can write your own, right?
So you have about 150 characters in that title field in the experience section. So if you want to put in, CEO or president or director of, put it in there, but add in some keywords. Use that vertical bar as a separator between the keywords. If any of you want to go to my LinkedIn profile, Kate Paine, Paine, you can see how I do it. I do it in the headline. The headline is right below your name. You have 220 characters there. Incorporate at least 2 or 3 keywords because people are searching for people through keywords if they don't know your name. And so you're making it more likely to be discoverable. And then also, like Sarah said, down in the experience section, use some of those keywords in that field instead of just your job title. Nobody's going to go searching for the director of marketing on LinkedIn because they're going to get 6 billion results. And so if you are using keywords, you're making it more likely to show up in a more keyword rich search.
Right.
Can you give an example, by the way, just real quick, either of you, on you mentioned like the job. So for example, if you're a doctor, you're a lawyer, that sort of stuff, like obviously that makes sense. But is there a specific maybe example you can share of a different way to phrase what that job title might be that would make sense for LinkedIn?
I can give you a great example. There's a woman I worked with who is a divorce attorney, family attorney, right? She handles mostly divorce, and she's getting away from typical divorce litigation. And so her specialty now has become collaborative divorce. So she's actually creating a service where she works with people who it's not mediation and it's not litigation. It's for people who don't want to have a hostile divorce and they want to do it in a collaborative way. So all of her keywords are around collaborative divorce. I think she even does use mediation as a term, but she's not using family law. She's not using like family law attorney because she's not doing that kind of work anymore. She's phasing out of that. Financial advisor, somebody like that. Talk about the segments that you are an expert in. Tax retirement strategies, like use the keywords about that. So like for me, I don't just put founder and CEO of Standing Out Online. I have, personal brand consultant, LinkedIn profile writer, LinkedIn profile coach. You do some research on it. Look at your competition. Go into like anonymous mode in your settings and go research your competition and see what language and words they're using to describe what they do.
Great points.
Yeah.
Did that answer your question, Christian?
What was that?
Did that answer your question?
Oh, it's perfect. Yeah. And I like the fact though, also that like you gave the example of sort of like the let's see, the first example you were talking about. And I liked how that was actually talking about like if you think about it, it's sort of actually kind of the person being smart with their strategy, thinking sort of beyond as well. They're not just, going with the status quo. They're going with something that maybe there aren't a lot of people talking about that right now.
Exactly.
But it's becoming a trend. Because again, or you mentioned like financial planner, like you look up a financial planner, most people don't know anything else really beyond a financial planner.
Right.
And so, like, oh, if you help with, personal retirement or something, you're very deliberate about what your specialty is. I think that makes a lot of sense. And I think also you could mention that, and then maybe in the description, you could say something like, I financial planner that specializes in da da da. That way you're still hitting those keywords as well, I think.
Yes.
So
yeah, you got to this takes some offline research. Like you can't do this in your LinkedIn profile. No. But think of like the seed keywords. Some of them may even be skills, but think about what they are that you do and the various components of what you do. And then just test them in Google or test them. There's a great tool I use called keyword.io. And it's a great place to put in seed keywords to get like variations on that keyword. And it's free to use. And it can just give you some ideas to create a sort of a working document of language you should use. And then, by the way, not only use it in your LinkedIn profile, but if those keywords are descriptive of what you do, use them in your Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn posts so that you know what those keywords are, so that you're putting them in your content to also help the SEO from that standpoint.
Right. Because posts are searchable. Posts are even becoming searchable on Instagram. So
it's about time.
It's about time. Yep. So,
blogs, and they have been. So
Right. Okay, we were going to wrap up with a few tips for people to do, but I think you've given us about 18 tips that we need to do.
Sorry.
So, no, that's why we invited you on, because we knew that we were going to get all of this great information from you, from using the real estate right to keyword optimizing your titles and your experience. So thank you for that.
You're welcome. I love doing this, as you know.
I do know. So, and Christian, we were going to do a tool of the week. We were going to do a tool of the week that was a third-party app to help with lead generation on LinkedIn, but we discovered that it's one of the banned apps for LinkedIn.
Yeah.
So since we have Kate here, who knows a lot about the LinkedIn terms of service, knows a lot about third-party apps. Kate, could you give us a little nugget of information about what to look for in any third-party app and whether or not we should use it?
Most third-party apps that are out there are in the process of being this is my understanding, banned by LinkedIn, because a lot of them are Google Chrome extensions, and they essentially scrape your data from LinkedIn user profiles. That clearly goes against LinkedIn's terms of service. A woman named Jillian Bullock, sorry, she's from Australia, did a great blog about 2 months ago on all of the apps that she looked up. There are over 80 that go against LinkedIn's terms of service. And so I caution any of you to be using them, because LinkedIn is really cracking down on this. And if they find that you're using it, they will suspend your account. I have personally had clients come to me going, I have no idea what happened. I was using this tool, and I'm like, yep, that's one of the ones that goes against LinkedIn's terms of service. So anything that's automation on LinkedIn goes against their terms of service. Don't use automated lead gen tools. Don't use posting like for social media management, like using Agorapulse or whatever other tool you use. That's totally cool. But don't be using some of these things that technically scrape data. It's a big no-no.
Right. And actually, when you talked about that blog post, we discussed that in episode 302. So I think Christian's going to drop that in the comments too. So if you go back to Social Chatter episode 302, we talked about that whole list of 80 banned apps. And we also talked about the partner directory. So within LinkedIn, they have a partner directory. We will drop that link in the comments and also in the blog too, so that you can go directly to LinkedIn and find out who they have as approved partners that they're working with.
Great.
Here's the other piece of advice I think I want to add on this. And it's just the fact that when a platform, like, I like the fact that we're trying to get towards having real, natural, like, conversations, doing things the right way on the platform. It's not to say you can't be creative, but when a platform says, we don't want you to use a third-party tool, don't chance it, because you have to also think long-term.
Right.
For example, if it's, I'll use Instagram as an example, or TikTok, they don't want you streaming outside of their app. So yes, there are ways to get around that. But when you even connect your account, you put yourself at risk there. And there's a strong chance that you could get somebody that says, hey, you know what, we're going to just ban a bunch of people, and they do it. And your account is one of them. And guess what? You may never be able to use the platform again.
Mm-hmm.
It's not about, I'm going to create another account. They may ban you completely. So
they will. And I've had somebody who's been trying for 6 months to get her account back, and they just told her, they said, we're done. We've gotten rid of it. You got to start over.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and it was because of using one of those apps. One more quick thing to add to this. Sure. If any of you have a social media manager or an assistant or something, and you've given them your login credentials to get in, and you've given them permission, LinkedIn's cracking down on that too, and they're able to figure it out. So I used to offer this concierge service with my clients. I would go into their account and format things and make it look pretty. I don't do that anymore. They are shutting people down. I know if somebody in California has a social media manager in the Philippines, they log in all the time. She can't get her account back. She's going through everything to try and apologized. I won't do it. I'll log in as me. It's also another reason why LinkedIn changed. You can only do 100 invitations a week instead of a day. That's LinkedIn's way of saying we're cracking down on this. And that's why we're reeling this in, because they're really trying to get rid of that automation piece, and they don't want you logging in. So if you're going to log in, I hate to say it, but you got to log in as you. I'm hoping they'll change that, because how many CEOs out there are going to be logging into their LinkedIn profiles?
Yep. I've worked with quite a few accounts on that. And yes.
Yep.
Because it's a lot more work. It's also, again, you delegate tasks like that, but still goes back to, I think your key point, when we brought you on with some questions, and that was build a website, use that to generate your leads, things like that, make your connections on the platforms, on the social platform, but don't be afraid to build them, drive them back to your website. So it's something that you actually own. You're not going to do anything malicious with it. It's just the fact that it's a way to, it's like bringing somebody over to your house.
It's true.
Right. Yeah.
It's exactly true. That's what I always say. Would I invite this person into my living room?
Fantastic. So speaking of connections, what is the best place for people to get in touch with you, Kate, if they want to reach out?
Well, my website is standingoutonline.com, and you can reach out to me there, but I would love for you to connect or follow me on LinkedIn. So linkedin.com/in/Kate Paine, Paine. That's right there on the screen. And you can always, shoot me an email at kate@standingoutonline.com.
Fantastic. And Sarah, how about you?
So you can find me across social media at Sarah Monroe VT. I am still connecting with people on LinkedIn, but you need to send me a message first. So let me know that you saw me on Social Chatter. As Kate said, I'll let you into the living room, but you have to make an effort. So
I agree 100%. You need to do the same thing with me too. Add a note.
Add a note. So at Sarah Monroe VT. Fantastic.
And I'm Christian Kirsevich at Social Chefs across all the social media platforms. Again, it's about fundamentals. We talked about LinkedIn dark mode today. Again, it's about making it a little bit easier on your eyes in this case. There's also accessibility and inclusivity option or things as well that have been added. So you want to make sure you go and check that out. Sarah, who do we have for next week's guest, by the way?
Next week is someone Kate and I know pretty well, is Rich Brooks from Flight New Media and the Agents of Change Digital Conference. He's an author, speaker, agency owner, and we will have him on next week, September 23rd at 10 a.m. Eastern.
Fantastic. So with that, I just want to do one quick reminder, and that's we have a blog post that will go out over the weekend, socialchefs.com/SC309. That'll have the replay video. It'll have a write-up. We're going to get some tips as well from Kate and include those in that. But I hope you all enjoyed learning about LinkedIn dark mode and meeting Kate. It's been fantastic having her on. With that, we will see you all on a future episode, everyone. Have a great weekend. Bye.